성공을 향해 가는 채널.
I like for a guy that didn't take a startup for a salary for the first 2 years of founding Bourbon/Instagram. It was really harrowing to think that people can have such a salary out of college, and you're gonna go take not a great job, right? That you're gonna do something that's a little riskier.
요즘 우리에게 영향력이 큰 인스타그램 창업자인 케빈 시스트롬이 스타트업을 꿈꾸는 젊은 창업가들에게 자신의 경험을 바탕으로 조언을 해줍니다.
And I'm not sure how this has changed to date at Stanford and other schools, but no one has money, and all you want to do is get a fridge for your room, right? And I'm pretty certain that every single year someone starts this startup, and I caught this trap too, which is just how do you allow students to trade goods at the beginning and end of the year? And there's this interesting mismatch between the end of the year, people want to get rid of the stuff, and the beginning of the year, everyone wants to buy stuff. So I sat down and I decided to teach myself Ruby on Rails, and I was like, this is going to be a really awesome skill. So I learned about databases, and learned enough to be dangerous. And this is one of the lessons in entrepreneurship, is that you don't have to be the best, but you have to be dangerous, right? You have to learn just enough to be dangerous, to build an idea, concept it, and show it to the world. And then it turns out there are lots of other people, including all 170 employees that work at Instagram, who are much better at doing all that stuff than I am. But you need to find people who can, be drawn to the idea that you build, and then they end up taking it and making it even better. Sometimes it's not about the idea that you're working on, but instead the skills that you're learning while you work on it. And that really helped me, not only learn to program, but also learn to market a consumer site to people. And I mean, colleges are probably the best form of marketing because everyone's interconnected and they talk all the time.
So an incredible amount of the groundwork for Instagram started far earlier, kind of in your experiences with previous startup.
Yeah, I think everyone's experience is different. First, everyone in this room has to take the idea that there is a perfect next move and throw it out the window. There aren't many windows in this room, but throw it out the window. Okay? There's no perfect next move. I had the privilege of going to a Marine base once and talking to Marines about how they plan their next move. And there's this phrase called bias towards action that I really was taken to. So the idea that you can spend all of your time thinking about what the perfect next move is, trying to plan, am I going to work at Google? Am I going to work at Microsoft? Which one? Am I going to work at McKinsey or Bain? Trying to figure out all the next perfect move and spending a tremendous amount of time trying to figure that out. The Marines say you can spend all the time you want, but by the time you figured it out, you're dead. Okay? So sometimes you need to make a trade-off of what is the action I can take with the appropriate amount of information and risk to move. Because moving and progress is what gets us to the next step.
그는 처음 시작할 때 돈을 벌지 못했습니다. 주변 친구들은 억대 연봉을 받고 부모님 또한 그를 걱정하였죠. 하지만 그는 포기하지 않고 자신의 경험을 바탕으로 성공을 이뤄냈습니다.
So for me, I mean, when I was in school trying to figure out what to do after college, all of my friends were interviewing at investment banks and Bain and McKinsey, and they were getting these offer letters with 6 figures. And I was like, oh my God, 6 figures right out of college is crazy. By the way, it is. And it is, right? For a guy that didn't take a startup for a salary for the first 2 years of, founding Bourbon/Instagram, it was really harrowing to think that people can have such a salary out of college, and you're going to go take not a great job, right? That you're going to do something that's a little riskier. It turns out, and I mean, don't quote me on this because your parents will kill me, it's all going to be fine. Okay, when I told my parents that I was going to go do a startup, and I know we're all a bit older here, but when I told my parents I was going to do a startup, they're like, what about health insurance? And I was like, oh, that's a good point. What about health insurance? So let's see here. It was scary, but that bias towards action was there's no perfect next move. You just need to know that by moving and learning, it all adds up. That summation of your experience over the last N years is what makes you into the thing tomorrow that will be successful. And it just takes trying and trying and trying again. So every little experience you have, you may not give credit to, but it turns out is super important for, being foundational in your startup going forward. And you'll end up kind of figuring out how it takes form in your startup going forward. But each and every little experience adds up.
지금 성공을 위해 도전할 준비를 하시나요? 완벽하게 준비해서 시작하겠다는 생각은 버리세요. 열심히 도전하고 행동해 보세요. 그 경험들은 뼈와 살이 되고 여러분의 힘이 되어 성공을 이뤄낼 겁니다.